People who are obsessed of technology or in using technology ought to be careful. Nature is far more simpler and always far better. Humans will always learn through karma. It's just a matter of time. This makes me against technology in its extreme, which many project and often wish to create. Nature will always do better. The same complaints I have for this extreme technology is the same I have for a utopia or utopian ideals. People have long aimed for a utopia based on a government or technology, the very factor I note as the second government. Utopian ideals do not come from total freedom. It comes from total control. And yet, control leads people to utopian ideals of different forms of control, all with the ever-consistent mentality of the fear in total freedom, the natural imbalances within the natural world. What people must realize is that those imbalances are part of the balance. Any disharmony is just intermission for a new harmony. Humanity will ever improve so long as they embrace total freedom in the aggregate. But how many will accept such when a government with benefits or technology with convenience comes their way? Humans must make it clear their transactions, their interactions, their independence versus dependence, their actionable limits over time, as done by the riddance of slavery, of certain drugs, of certain practices. No compliance was necessary for the riddance of these things, only mass understanding and abidance to such knowledge was, on the path toward learning from history, from truth, for sustainability, what works and what doesn't, what's natural and what isn't. The difference between utopia and real freedom must be made. Freedom is possible and a natural reality. Utopia isn't possible and is a lost dream fit for mind-expanding video games. Indeed, what you can't do in the real world best ought to be simulated through technology, so to help the mind learn possibility. By learning possibility, you learn existence, all that comes in be. The difference between technology and government must also be made because the first form of slavery matters before the second form of slavery, mental before physical, government before technology. Government is all created mentally. It is a man-made construct based entirely on dogmatic belief, disregarding morality, a monopoly on violence, the act of man seeking to be God, dictating how other peoples shall live their own life, a euphemism for slavery, disregarding ownership, disregarding natural law, disregarding responsibility, claiming certain people are more special than other people by their nature, assuming to create natures that don't exist in reality, and ultimately claiming to be nature, be truth, and thus be the authority of truth, or through which truth becomes action. By observing such first, we may now see the potentiality in the second, which is, however, our choice. Because technology isn't the exact replicant nature, and it is entirely physical and identifiable, influencing the mental in coordinates with its users. Technology is a middleman between you and the programmer or creator, thus still being an interaction between two peoples in the case of the first government, but ever more obscure. Technology is dependent upon the user so long as it is, and that is where human consciousness must come in, as no technology possesses such, and it is the very factor that must remain, else humanity has sold its soul to a new form of slavery, the second government, a new form of mind control. Just like the religion of scientism, the religion of technocracy, or however you may say it, ought not to limit human action. But like all forms of mind control, the person being mind controlled has the ability to undo the process, prevent the process, escape into their conscious freedom. Nature was first above all. We lose sight of it if we forget. Technology can either help facilitate or totally replace. The difference between natural leadership, natural intelligence, and artificial leadership, artificial intelligence. Never shall the user become dependent on technology, for that is when it becomes a danger. As like all binding religions, however, this danger would need to be aggregated into the form of a government in order for it to be a real danger in society, resulting in chaos. This is where people must apply the logic against statism to that of machines. Indeed, not technology, certainly not electricity, but machines is the particular form of technology that one ought to be the most conscious of. Technology could be anything from books to television to any invention created with knowledge. It is the product of natural freedom. It actually helps manifest and express freedom. But again, this is so long as the user has choice and accessibility. When freedom through technology is eliminated, freedom through life is eliminated. People ought to choose what books to read, what music to listen to, what games to play, what app to download. All these things are freedoms. If people become convinced of using technology for one purpose or one program only, or in replacing their nature, their minds become limited, and so follows their true nature. They have enslaved themselves just as much as they have limited themselves to statism as a means of changing the world with the first government. So how do you prevent this? If eliminating statism prevents the first government, it'll also prevent the second. But it isn't eliminating statism in the case of technology, it is connecting with nature. It won't be so much about morality as much it would be about reality. So not a discussion if a robot has the right to rule over you, but a declaration that only you shall rule yourself because only you truly can and shall naturally. The cause for eliminating statism was knowing the nature of authority, of human beings, of power, of order following, of nature's laws. The same cause behind such applies here even more directly, as what becomes unnatural or denaturing has grown to become clearly unnatural or denaturing. A direct declaration of nature. Change will occur so long as people are free from the first government. They can easily adapt to anything that follows, including the speculatory nature of the second government technology. There will be attempts by people to create a utopia, even in the embraced free world, but their efforts will fail if they still don't align to nature, because that's what all comes down toward. Freedom must always be considered. It is the highest need of nature. The lesson here is not to fear freedom, not to fear any system of control, and simply to embrace and know your own system of control yourself, your own life and environment, doing the best you can do. These words hold power when understood. You need no external power but you and your already wired connection to wireless nature. All works out so long as it is allowed to, and if freedom is embraced by humanity due to the riddance of government, nobody ever has to worry about any new system of control or fantasies of a utopian or united world. People will continue to learn for what comes next in innovation, be it all forms of technologies. Nature allowed for technology to exist, so keep that in mind when you use technology. When you create it or help in its manifestation, nature will always be smarter and always be far more complex. Know the real power in the world, because if you lose sight of it, its power will come to show the true source of control. Law will strike. The same understandings here must be made of spirituality and materialism. Just as we should not be trapped in emotions, we should not be trapped in analytics. Just as we should not be trapped in instinct, we should not be trapped in intuition. Technology will be beautiful, so long as that beauty is able to be experienced within a varietyful nature, as that was the intended purpose of its simple nature. Creativity, mystery, and exploration from the first creation shall persist to its last. Even if reality is completely striked with a new potential, an abidance to nature will keep all in the harmony through which they belong, as nothing supersedes what supersedes all. Learn more about modern slavery in my book, Slavery Gone for Good. My name is Corey Engerlot. I want you to reclaim your freedom by knowing what slavery is, so we can end slavery once and for all.